See, the problem was I was telling other people. I was preaching sermons to other people, telling them how they needed to live and walk in the freedom that God had given to each of us. But I wasn't living and walking in it myself. And that makes me the king of hypocrites. And that's not okay. Can we talk about that? Especially when it comes to dealing with the pain and the anger of our past and our hurts. See, recently I was invited to be a part of a session at the Celebrate Recovery Summit in California, where I was given a list of 5 questions concerning anger, especially when it comes to recovery. I was prepared to answer those questions, but because of time constraints, we only made it through 2. So I thought, you know what, we should just talk about that right here, right now. I want to answer each one of those questions because I believe it might help somebody, because surely I'm not the only one that struggled with anger before. And so I want to answer those and be transparent. I want to open up and be as transparent as I can because I think it might help somebody else. And we're going to do that over the next several evenings. But you know, about 3 years ago, I started my recovery journey, the recovery journey that I didn't think I needed. Surprise. And then I discovered that I needed help with anxiety and depression, with family trauma, religious trauma. And what shocked me was not long after I started, I began to feel angry at myself, angry at other people in the present and the past. And I was like, I didn't realize I struggled with anger, God. I'm really troubled. And I realized in this that it really wasn't anger that I was struggling with. What was going on was that I was coming face to face with things that I had avoided for a long time. And it was making me angry. But see, because what I had done, and I bet you that others are guilty of it, is I had set my life up so that I could avoid the things that had caused me hurt and pain. I don't know many people that volunteer to be in pain. I do my best to avoid it. And we set our lives up to avoid the pain. And sometimes we've done it so long that we don't even realize that we've done it. And I was coming face to face with those things that God wanted to deliver me from. Because God, I realized in this, that God had not called me or you to live a life of avoidance. He has not called us to live a zigzag life. He's called to set us free. And the only way that we can be set free is to move straight forward. But I thought I was going to have to do all that on my own. But what I realized in the midst of this recovery process was that God held his hand out and he led me through this. And he brought me to freedom. Freedom that I had preached about for years, but I hadn't even experienced. And now over the last few years, I've been getting to experience, and it's incredible. But it didn't come without a cost. It didn't come without confronting those issues that I had tried to avoid, and it caused anger. I liken it to a storm or a hurricane. As you think about a hurricane, it requires a couple of things. One is it requires warm water and wind. Wind blowing across that warm water meets each other, goes up, creates this hurricane. You know, in our life, well, that warm water, well, it is our life. It's our past, our hurts, our issues, our own sin, our own fault. And then also the things that we've been victim to, like, you know, maybe family trauma, religious trauma, whatever it may be. Put that in that warm water. And when I come up against that warm water, when I began the recovery process, I was like, oh, I really need help. God, I can't do this. I can't fix these things, God. I have to have you. You have to move. And God began to move. But what happens is when God begins to move, the Holy Spirit begins to move, the wind blows across that warm water and it creates a hurricane or a storm in our life. And it's not a hurricane that God brought about to destroy us. Because remember, the warm water is not something that God created. That was our own doing. That was our own hot mess. But God desires to come in and transform us and change us. So the Holy Spirit moves across that. It creates a storm. It's crazy. And it hurts. And it's not fun. But it's worth it. Because in the end, anything that a hurricane touches, it's not going to be the same. And God's desire is not to destroy you, but to transform you into a person that's living and walking in that freedom. One that I preached about for years and didn't even live in. But now I do. And it's incredible. But it didn't come without facing that anger. But see, anger never consumed me. It never controlled me. That's when anger becomes dangerous. That's when it becomes toxic. But anger motivated me to go toward the freedom that God had for me. Not all anger is bad. I look forward to talking about it over the next few days with you, and I hope that it blesses you and helps you in your walk with God. Love you guys.